Hi friends, today I am going to discuss a very remarkable short poem, Dawn at Puri by Jayanta Mahapatra. The poem is set in the backdrop of the temple of Puri and all the activities surrounding it just before the day breaks. We all know that Puri or Jagannatha Puri, situated at the Bay of Bengal in the province of Orissa, is one of the famous pilgrimage sites for Hindus. It is the only shrine in India where Radha, along with Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga, Bhudevi, Shati, Parvati, and Shakti, abodes with Krishna, who is also known by the name Jagannatha. The Temple of Puri has a history of almost 2000 years. King Indradumna of Ujjaini is credited with building the original temple in 380. Some archaeologists claim that in ancient age Puri was actually a place of Buddhist worship. However, with the rise of Brahminism, the Buddha deity got worshipped by the Hindus as Jagannatha. The temple of Puri that we see now was actually built in the 12th century, and from that point of time, the place came to be known as Jagannatha Puri, or shortly Puri. In Sanskrit, the word Puri means town or city. So, Jagannatha Puri means the city of Jagannatha, that is, the city of Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Since 12th century, the temple of Puri has been invaded at least 18 times by the foreign kings to plunder its treasure. The popularity of the temple increased when it got linked with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great mystic of the 16th century Bengal. He had spent many years as a devotee of Jagannatha at Puri, and he is said to have merged with the deity. Being born in Orissa, Jayanta Mahapatra was quite familiar with the environment of the temple of Puri. However, the skeptic mind of the poet does not fail to notice the inherent emptiness that is conspicuous in each and every apparently grand ritual which are observed in the holy place since the day breaks. The poem is highly symbolic and metaphorical in nature. The poet utilizes a number of images and symbols, leaving the reader to discover the underlying suggestion in his words. The poem describes the familiar landscape in the holy city and at the same time reveals to us the hollowness of the rites and rituals common in every Indian society. A poem on the highly revered spiritual abode begins with the stark irony aroused by a series of strikingly unpleasant and shocking images. Endless crow noises, a skull in the holy sands tilts its empty country towards hunger. The expectation of a highly devotional mood evoked by the title is immediately undercut by the horrifying images. The day begins in a famous holy place with various religious practices. But in the midst of all these conventional everyday performances, the poet points towards those ever present inevitable hard realities of life which get unnoticed by all. Being conditioned by thousand years orthodox practices, people become blind to greater truth existing outside the religious world over which religion has no control. As soon as the sun rises on the sacred seashore, people jump into observing holy rites to attain eternal life. But they fail to notice the numerous signs of death and decay that always stare them in the face. They cannot notice the endless crows which are gnawing at the dead bodies, or the holy sands which are littered with human skulls. The word holy is ironical because during cremation nothing is left except the ashes. And if the skull remains intact after cremation in such a holy and sacred city, the poet wonders what would be the condition in other cities which are not holy. All these realities are giving the omen that despite all the religious ceremonies, they cannot escape death, decay, and all the physical realities of life. Despite the grand rituals, they cannot overcome hunger and poverty distressing the country. The phrase holy sands has an ironical twist. The beach of Puri has golden yellow sand, and the sunrise is pleasant scenic attraction here. But the scenic beauty of the place, with its holy association, is threatened by the suggestion of horrible certainties of life. White clad widowed women, past the centers of their lives, are waiting to enter the great temple. Widows who live a life of austerity on temple premises for the redemption of their sins will also die a piteous death. Observing fast, they're waiting to enter the great temple, which is incapable of reducing their misery. Their austere eyes stare like those caught in a net, hanging by the dawn's shining strands of faith. There seems a statement of grimness in their eyes, as they are separated from every single common concern. They resemble animals trapped in a net. The phrase strands of faith powerfully suggests the irony of the situation. The sand of beach is shining glitteringly with the rise of the sun. The scenic beauty of the place intensifies their faith, but at the same time it brings to light the inhuman cruelty in the customs that they painfully observe till death. The frail early light catches ruined leprous shells leaning against one another, a mass of crouched faces without names. The faint light of the early morning falls upon the lepers lying defaced or begging for food. As the light of dawn is frail and shaky, so is the faith of the beggars asking for food on the name of the Lord. Here, leprous shells suggest the beggars who have contracted leprosy. They have no names, they are just beggars, a mass of lean figures having no distinct personality. The beggar seeking materialistic things in a spiritual land represents the same conflict between the systematic religious practices and the hard realities of life. Beggars who beg around the religious sites mostly belong to the low caste society. They stay outside the temple premises because they are not allowed to enter the temple. Even in the holy places, they are treated as untouchables, left to starve and die of incurable diseases. The pathetic condition of the beggars exposes the discriminatory nature of the rites and ritual of Indian society. The poet writes, and suddenly breaks out of my heart into the smoky blaze of a sudden, sullen, solitary fire that fills my aging mother. The poet watches a sullen, solitary fire blazing in the burning heart. Suddenly, the memory of his mother springs out of the poet's unconscious self. Her last wish to be cremated here, twisting uncertainly like light on the shifting sands. The cremation ground, located on the shore of the sea at Puri, is known as Sargadwar, which means the gateway to heaven. Thousands of dead bodies of Hindus are brought here from faraway places for cremation. It is a belief that if dead bodies are cremated here, they would attain heavenly life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is said to have disappeared from this Sarvadwar about 500 years back. The poet is reminded of his mother's last wish to be cremated here. In the world of death and mutability, in the ever-changing shore of time, people are laboriously observing vague rituals to attain immortal life. The uncertain twisting of the sunlight on the shifting sands symbolizes the great truth that changeability is the law of nature. But custom-ridden devotees fail to recognize these omens. But the poet, in spite of being a non-believer, can read the great truth underlying the work of nature. Through the power of grave irony, sharp images, and symbolism, Mahapatra's poem thus reveals to us the hollowness of religious practices against the real condition of human life. The poet expresses profound feelings and compassion for the people who suffer, which is set against the indifference of the society and fossilized Hindu culture. I end my discussion here. I hope you have enjoyed my presentation. If my efforts have helped you in any way, then please subscribe to my channel. I am going to upload a series of lectures on related topics, which I hope will help you a lot. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye.